Sunday. He's one of the most powerful vice presidents in U.S. history. Meet Dick Cheney, plus General Tommy Franks. Paula Zahn hosts People in the News. CNN Sunday, 7 Eastern.
From CNN Global headquarters in Atlanta, this is CNN Saturday Night. Are U.S. troops any closer to going to Liberia? And what happens when the first child points his gun at an American soldier? We'll consider that chilling yet plausible scenario. Also, an explosion and roaring fire rips through a building, injuring nearly 200 people, including a bride and groom at their wedding. And they say it's in God's hands. 29-year-old twin sisters joined at the head are in surgery right now in Singapore. At best, they could leave separate lives. At worst, they could die. These stories and a lot more now on CNN Saturday Night. Good evening. I'm Kelly Arena. We've got a lot to tell you about tonight. Should U.S. troops go to Liberia? That is our last call question tonight. We'd like to hear from you, and we'll ask one of our generals what kind of danger American soldiers would face if they went. Also, a music revolution on your computer will tell you how to get the songs you want without getting sued. And have you ever ridden in the subway packed like a sardine? Well, we're going to show you why tonight some New York City subway cars are sleeping with the fishes. We'll have more on that in a bit, but first, if you're just tuning in after a busy Saturday, let's get you caught up on the headlines. Looking at headlines making news, there's word that embattled Liberian President Charles Taylor is considering a temporary asylum offer from Nigeria. The news comes as the White House considers whether to send U.S. troops to the region for a peacekeeping and humanitarian mission. 14 people were killed today when 2 women blew themselves up outside a rock concert in Moscow. Russian officials say they've linked Chechen rebels to the bombing. An operation is underway right now to separate a pair of Iranian twins joined at the head. The surgery on the 29-year-old women involves 28 doctors and could last up to 4 days. Doctors say there's a chance one or both twins will not survive. And in sports, just like last year, the all-Williams final at Wimbledon has ended with the little sister on top. Serena Williams defeated Venus 4-6, 6-4, and 6-2 to claim her second straight Wimbledon title. We begin tonight on the west coast of Africa, in the embattled country of Liberia. Blood has been flowing in the streets for years, but it has been especially bad in the past couple of weeks. And now President Bush is thinking about sending your sons and daughters over there to stop it. CNN's Brent Sadler is in the Liberian capital with the latest.
The future of this war-ravaged nation hangs in the balance as Liberia's embattled President Charles Taylor comes under mounting international pressure to leave office, not least from US President George W. Bush, who has repeatedly said Mr. Taylor must go for the sake of its own impoverished people. So far, the American administration, seen by many in Liberia as a possible savior to end 2 decades of conflict, has refrained from committing troops as part of a stabilization force to include West African states. But a US humanitarian mission backed by military force is being actively considered and is taking shape as President Bush prepares to make his first visit to Africa, which starts on Monday. But the Liberian leader's lingering presence here in Monrovia is an obstacle to US plans. So, enter Nigeria, whose president, Olusegun Obasanjo, is expected here Sunday to try to broker a way out of the impasse. The Liberian leader says he's prepared to leave office once peacekeepers are on the ground, to oversee an orderly transition, he says, of power. But Western observers suspect Mr. Taylor might be attempting to draw in international troops before the scene is set for a transitional government for his own ends. Nigeria, according to Liberian officials, may be considering a deal to offer Mr. Taylor temporary asylum, which could possibly shield him from a war crimes indictment in neighboring Sierra Leone, one of Mr. Taylor's key concerns. But nothing is certain, and as the standoff continues, there's growing anxiety that even while a fragile ceasefire holds, time may be running out, and that for those who can leave the country, it's a case of now or never as people scramble for seats on special flights out of the country. Brent Sadler, CNN, Monrovia.
If U.S. troops go to Liberia, and no decision about that has been made, the mission will likely be a mix of military-style security and humanitarian aid. CNN military analyst Don Shepard, a retired Air Force general, joins us by phone to discuss the wisdom of sending U.S. forces to yet another global hotspot. General, how are you?
Very good, Kelly. How are you tonight?
I'm well, sir. Is this a good idea? Can we handle this at this time?
Kelly, we can handle it. We have the troops. Even though we're engaged in a lot of places around the world, of course in Iraq, Afghanistan, Kosovo, Bosnia, Koreas, we do have the troops to do this because it should be a fairly small effort. The key question is not do we have the troops, but is this a smart thing to do? And the key question embedded in that is, do we have a responsibility toward Africa, and do we have a responsibility where people are being killed to come in and help stop civil wars? That's the key question, and the President's going to answer that for us pretty soon, I believe.
What, in your estimation, would be a winning formula? Would it be absolutely setting an exit date? Would it be making sure that there were a number of countries involved in an effort? Where do you think the strategy lies?
Yeah, the latter is making sure that we have a number of countries involved through the United Nations, particularly African countries. But the United States has got to be part of the force, and we absolutely should not set an exit date. Every time you do something like that, it's an artificial date. You don't know if you can get out at that time. You'll know when it's time to leave, when order's been established and transition can be made to a government that can handle the services for the people. Mm-hmm. But setting these artificial dates early on is just leads to bad things.
Mm-hmm. Is this a situation where U.S. troops would be welcome?
Yes, the country is essentially devastated by civil war, almost 20 years of civil war now. Basically, both sides welcome it. They want to get the economy going again. They want peace. And so in this case, we would be going in as peacekeepers as opposed to peacemakers. Now, there's a nuance here, Kelly, that Brent Sadler explained a bit about there, and that is that President Bush says, we're not going in until President Taylor leaves. The reason is he's before broken agreements about leaving and things that he was going to do, not kept those agreements. If we allow him to stay, and then the United States goes in as a peacekeeper, it can be perceived by the rebel side that we are supporting Taylor to try to keep him in business. And now you will have one side against us and us perceived as being on Taylor's side. So the President wants President Taylor gone, and so that both sides are welcome us in, and then we try to keep both sides apart, establish order, and get things working again for a new government.
All right, well, if that asylum deal with Nigeria works out, there just may be a green light then.
Yeah, no, that's temporary asylum. Again, President Taylor was at a meeting in Ghana in June when he was indicted, or at least charges brought against him by the United Nations for war crimes against Sierra Leone, gun running and assisting in the rebels in that civil war. So he is a man on the lam. So this would be temporary asylum, and then you have to figure out what you're going to do with him in the long run, and are you going to pursue him through the UN? Okay,
General Don Shepard, thank you for your time, sir.
Pleasure.
Right. Well, now it's your turn. Should U.S. troops go to Liberia? Call us with your comments at 1-800-807-2620. We'll play some of your remarks at the end of the program. More ahead on this story in a few minutes. Hear what President Bush has to say about the Liberian situation during his one-on-one interview with CNN. We'll have that for you in about 25 minutes. Well, an explosion at a gas station in Turkey has left scores of people injured, some of them critically. It reportedly happened as a truck was refilling the station's gas tanks. 189 people were injured, including some who were attending a wedding on the building's third floor. The bride and groom were among those hurt. And there were more signs today that law and order don't exactly rule in Baghdad just yet. 7 U.S.-trained Iraqi police recruits were killed today in an explosion. It happened just before the recruits' graduation. U.S. military sources tell CNN that at least 13 others were wounded in the blast, but other reports put that figure at 40. U.S. officials say remnants of Saddam Hussein's regime are to blame. Elsewhere in Baghdad, another brutal act of violence. Security sources say a British journalist was shot in the head and killed today. The Associated Press reports it happened outside the Iraqi National Museum. And outside a packed stadium in Moscow today, there was a violent attack of a different sort. Russian officials say 2 women blew themselves up, killing themselves and at least 14 others. But it could have been a lot worse. CNN Moscow Bureau Chief Jill Daugherty has more.
Inside the airfield in northwest Moscow, young people listening to a rock concert. Outside, two women, both with explosives tied to their waists, were stopped at the gate. The first suicide bomber detonated her belt, killing several people. A few minutes later, the other woman blew herself up, taking the lives of more than a dozen. Andrei Tsvitkov was in a McDonald's restaurant across the street when he heard the second blast.
We didn't pay much attention to the first blast. It sounded just like a loud pop. After all, there were lots of noisy teenagers around. But the second blast was several times more powerful. We left our lunch and burst into the street.
As police and ambulances rushed to the concert area, investigators studied the charred remains of the bombers for clues. They said they found the passport of a 20-year-old Chechen woman next to one of them.
Even as the bombs were going off outside the airfield, thousands of concertgoers inside never even knew what was happening.
Andrei says he was listening to the music when a friend called on his cell phone.
They called us from back home on our mobile phone and said there's a report of a terrorist act at the festival. Is that true, they said? Are you alive or dead? And we thought it was a joke.
By nightfall, the police said they had linked the suicide bombers to rebels in Chechnya. Jill Doherty, CNN, Moscow.
At this hour, a pair of 29-year-old twins conjoined at the head may be a step closer to realizing a dream. At a hospital in Singapore, the Bijani twins of Iran are undergoing a risky separation surgery. Some doctors have put each woman's chance of survival at just 50-50. It's a risk that the sisters have said they are willing to take. And doctors say the women seem ready.
I think this is the day that they have been waiting for, obviously. So I think they're very happy that the day has finally come. I mean, obviously, I think they would probably still be quite nervous, right? Anxious. They probably have a lot of thoughts going through their minds, right? But yes, this is the day they've been waiting for, and I think they are coping very well.
When all is said and done, the Bijani twins could go on to lead normal, separate lives, but the surgery may also kill them. CNN's Dr. Sanjay Gupta has more.
When the 29-year-old Bijani sisters, who are conjoined at the head, undergo an operation to be separated, it will be a medical first.
We are very excited to become the surgery. We hope the surgery will be successful.
Sure, everyone remembers the two Marias from Guatemala who were successfully separated last year. But they were babies. In fact, the doctors say all of the previous operations of this type have been done on children. Adults are decidedly more difficult.
You don't have the plasticity. You know, with children, they have the ability to reroute neural connections. So they have a great deal more recuperative power. The adults will not have that.
Modern technology like this three-dimensional imaging helps make the operation a possibility. These are actual images of the Bijani sisters. As they rotate, they first give a sense of the skull. It is clear the twins are connected near the back of their heads. Further rotation reveals that while the brains are touching, they are in fact separate. Each brain can be seen individually in its entirety. The major stumbling block becomes clear. There is one large vein where there should be two. The most challenging part of the operation will take place here, creating a second vein for the other brain. Even in the best of hands, with this technology, the stakes are high for these two intelligent, otherwise healthy women. Doctors consider this an elective operation because the Bijanis would likely live a normal lifespan without the operation. But of course, it's not a normal lifespan they want. They want a normal life. Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN, reporting.
There's still a lot to cover tonight. Home from the war and leading another parade, how one former POW spent his 4th of July. And 5 times in a row, can Lance Armstrong do it again? And don't forget, tonight's last call question, should U.S. troops go to Liberia? Call us, 1-800-807-2620.
What if we looked at the world as one giant farm field? In tomorrow's global food economy, every crop will grow where it grows best. And ADM can link farmers to almost any market in the world. It's a natural way to improve agricultural efficiency, make food more affordable, and feed a hungry world.
Can you hear me?
ADM, the nature of what's to come.
In 1211, the Carpathian brothers took a vow of silence. Luckily, it only pertains to offline. Because right now, AOL members can get AOL for Broadband, the first online service specifically designed to maximize your high-speed connection for a great low price, now for a limited time. And when you can get streaming news and sports highlights and send instant messages with video, pictures, and songs, who needs talking? Call now to get the only high-speed online experience with all the power of the world's largest online community, with sessions at AOL, radio at AOL, and music at AOL, plus AOL's powerful pop-up controls, latest generation parental controls, and a junk mail filter that helps you block unwanted email, report it, and helps filter it out altogether. AOL for Broadband. Welcome to the worldwide.
Next week, Bill Hammer, Soledad O'Brien, where real news makes the difference. American Morning, CNN next week.
Big.
You and your money could be in for the ride of a lifetime. Open a Priority Choices checking or business checking account at First Tennessee, and you could win a trip to the Sharpie 500 this August at the Bristol Motor Speedway. Stop by any First Tennessee Financial Center for details, because the race is on. First Tennessee, all things financial.
When are you going to be done with that quarterly sales report?
When I'm done? Who's going to replace the toner? Not me?
You'll be buzzing all week from Game Show Network's Sunday Night Buzz. First it's Lingo, then Chuck Woolery Naturally Stoned, GSN's first reality show. Then comics go joke to joke on National Lampoon's Funny Money, plus special episodes of Celebrity Cram. Catch a buzz that'll last all week. Sunday Night Buzz, Sunday nights at 9 Eastern and Pacific, only on Game Show Network.
CNN, the most trusted name in news.
It's been a year for most of these soldiers with the 3rd Infantry Division, but at long last, they are home after duty in Iraq. Families gave them a warm reception as they arrived at Fort Gillem in Georgia. Here in Atlanta, former POW Ron Young Jr. was named Grand Marshal of the city's annual 4th of July parade. Young grew up nearby. The chief warrant officer says he is now easing back into active duty.
It's been the best 4th of July of my life, and of course I'm a lot more patriotic than I've ever been in my life, you know, after going through something like that. But it was great. Grand Marshal of the Douglasville Parade, then came out to Atlanta, Grand Marshal of the Atlanta Parade, and I mean, just unbelievable. It was an unbelievable day for me, one I'll never forget. I've had a little time, you know, of course, I really don't like being around by myself like that much anymore. Because you find you start reflecting on a lot of stuff that happened to you over there, and sometimes it makes you pretty deeply saddened about what happened and what you went through, and you know what guys are still going through. So I tend to try to keep myself more busy.
As you may recall, Young and co-pilot David Williams were taken prisoner in March when their Apache helicopter was forced down in southern Iraq. They were rescued about 3 weeks later. Other news in our national roundup takes us to St. Paul, Minnesota, where an intense search of the Mississippi River has turned up no sign of a young child. Witnesses say a young woman tossed 2 children off a bridge and then jumped in herself. She and 1 child were rescued, but the other apparently drowned. In the Windy City, a vicious blow. Heavy storms ripped through the area early this morning. Authorities say 85-mile-an-hour winds sent trees crashing into homes and power lines, leaving about 100,000 customers without electricity. More could be on the way. And in Gallup, New Mexico, the manhunt continues for 2 escaped convicts from a privately run jail. 2 others were captured, including a man who's about to go on trial for killing a police officer. The inmates escaped by jumping off a 3rd-floor roof where the jail's recreation area is located. And near Tucson, Arizona, what looks like burning rocks is really the Aspen Fire, which has been scorching the parched wilderness for weeks. Winds have now pushed the flames into the rugged Santa Catalina Mountains, and it's posing a threat to more homes. The 60,000-acre fire is about 60% contained. And in Los Angeles, the city zoo reportedly has promised security improvements after numerous animal escapes in recent years. According to the LA Times, the U.S. Department of Agriculture threatened to sue the zoo after 35 animals broke free from their exhibits over a 5-year period. And still ahead, Liberia and the U.S. The African country was created by Americans, and now it may be saved by Americans. You'll be surprised at what else the two countries have in common. Next, why you should care about all of this. And there's still time to weigh in on those U.S. troops going into Liberia. Should they be going? Let us know. 1-800-807-2620.
I love a good thing. Who says too much of a good thing is a bad thing? Sometimes too much of a good thing can be a great thing.
Now you can call anyone in America for 3 cents a minute and 39 cents to connect. And that 3 cents gets you Canada and Western Europe too. Just dial 1010-987. There's no monthly fees, so you only pay for the calls you make.
Hey, you know a good thing when you see it.
1010-987. A rate this low never went so far.
One new message.
Hey Ted, big spike in sales. Make it work.
Business changes rapidly, which is why HP ProLiant servers with high-performance Intel Xeon processors can be remotely managed from anywhere. So wherever you are, it's like taking your data center with you. Demand more. Demand HP ProLiant servers.
Today, more people with diabetes are getting to know Accu-Chek Compact. The one with the drum. Automatic, so you never have to handle a test strip, even when you're in the middle of something important. Compact from Accu-Chek. Diabetes made easier. Life lived better.
CNN Sunday. He's not the most visible, but he's one of the most powerful vice presidents in U.S. history, Dick Cheney. Plus, meet the general who blitzed his way to Baghdad, Tommy Franks. Paula Zahn hosts People in the News, CNN Sunday, 7 Eastern.
CNN Tomorrow, Charlie Gibson of Good Morning America. A rare and revealing one-on-one interview. Everything you ever wanted to know about Charlie Gibson. A very special hour, only on Larry King Live. CNN Tomorrow, 9 Eastern.
A risky brain surgery tops our headlines tonight and tomorrow. 29-year-old Iranian sisters joined at the skull have begun a 4-day operation to separate them. Doctors give 50-50 odds they'll survive the ordeal. If they live, it will be a medical first for adult conjoined twins. In Iraq, another attack, but this one aimed at Iraqis aligned with the U.S. 7 U.S.-trained police recruits were killed by a blast just moments before they were to graduate. The city west of Baghdad has strong ties to the Ba'ath Party. And in Liberia, President Charles Taylor may be getting ready to leave the country, as the U.S. has demanded. Nigeria's president travels to Monrovia tomorrow to discuss temporary asylum for Taylor. Well, you've probably heard a lot lately about the links between Liberia and the United States. The country itself was founded by freed American slaves nearly 200 years ago. But the ties run even deeper than that. CNN's George Bauer reports on just how wide-ranging the relationship is.
If you've ever studied American history, you've probably learned about the history of Liberia without even knowing it. You see, it was settled by freed American slaves who moved there in the 1820s and helped develop the country. In fact, the capital city, Monrovia, is named after then U.S. President James Monroe. It's a country with many ties to the U.S.
We've got a special ties to Liberia. There's historical ties in the United States.
Liberia's government and laws are based on America's. That's why Liberia called itself a republic. It's the oldest in Africa. Did you know Liberia means land of the free and its flag looks a lot like the Stars and Stripes? And did you know Liberia has 3 branches of government, like the U.S.? It even calls its Congress the House and Senate. Liberia has a president and vice president. The president appoints a cabinet. Nominees must be approved by the Senate. The highest court in Liberia is the Supreme Court, like America. Liberia even uses the political party system. All Liberians are allowed to vote at 18, black, white, man, or woman. The currency in Liberia is the dollar. It has 100 cents. Sound familiar? Washington and Monrovia had warm relations for years. Things went sour when dictators took over in Liberia starting in 1980, and they've been strained ever since.
That's why we are involved in this issue. And I'm going to look at all the options to determine how best to bring peace and stability.
Today, the U.S., in assistance provided through the UN, is the largest donor of relief aid to Liberia. One of the most interesting Liberian-U.S. connections is Charles Taylor himself. He was born outside Monrovia in 1948 to a Liberian mother and American father, themselves descendants of freed American slaves.
I am not anti-American. I have advocated for a long time for American involvement here. I am the grandson of an American that migrated to this country. I'm not anti. So for anyone to insist that I must be off the scene for American troops to come here implies that I'm anti-American.
Taylor's father sent him to school in the U.S. He got an economics degree from Bentley College near Boston. He was part of dictator Samuel Doe's government in 1980, but was exiled to, you guessed it, the United States. Taylor was jailed in Massachusetts for stealing Liberian funds, but he escaped and later returned home. He could be about to leave Liberia once again. The long-term relationship will continue to evolve as the U.S. ponders its involvement in a crisis that is now spiraling out of control. George Bauer, CNN.
We'll be right back with more. Stay with us.
Every day, all over the world, millions of people receive Adobe PDFs. But few realize just how simple they are to create. Which begs the question, is it better to give a PDF or to receive one? The PDF from Adobe Acrobat.
All spring you work to get your lawn thick and green, and then along comes summer and the brown patches. Hi, I'm Ashton Ritchie with the Scotts Company. Don't just blame the summer heat. It's also insects, bugs you can't even see, eating your lawn alive. The solution? Scotts Turf Photo with Summer Guard. It eliminates lawn-damaging insects. Plus, it greens up your lawn with a special summer fertilizer made for even the hottest months. Scotts Turf Photo with Summer Guard. Put it down this weekend for your best summer lawn ever. Guaranteed.
There are thousands of them. Some cleverly disguised as bookstores, Wi-Fi internet access, or your laptop, or PDA. T-Mobile Hotspot. Get more.
Treat your car to Chevron with Techron.
Bush heads to Africa. CNN Monday. As the president decides whether to deploy troops to Liberia, we follow him on this historic visit. Plus, Kathleen Turner's surprising new role. We're live from the headlines. CNN Monday, 7 Eastern.
The White House is considering the ties that bind as it weighs whether to send U.S. troops to Liberia, and the decision is likely to spark debate. I'm joined now by Martha Zoller, host of, appropriately enough, radio's The Martha Zoller Show. And Sam Greenfield also joins us. He's a talk show host at WWRL Radio in New York. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, why don't we start, Martha, with you. Should the United States be sending troops to Liberia at this time?
Well, I think the president's been very clear. What he wants to see is Charles Taylor out, and then they're going to weigh this relationship. This is a very special relationship that we have between the United States and Liberia. The United Nations has asked us to be involved, as well as all three of the factions in Liberia. So we'll hear from the president very soon. I think that probably if Charles Taylor leaves, we will send troops in.
Sam?
Well, we had a special relationship with Liberia that ended in the 80s when Samuel K. Doe and his rebel forces took over. Charles Taylor, as you heard in the report before the break, said he doesn't know if he wants to leave. Why should he have to leave? This thing is a powder keg. This is going to be a PR nightmare for the president. What are we going to do the first time a 13-year-old has an AK-47 aimed at a soldier? The soldier in defense kills the child, and those pictures are going to look horrendous. Also, this is a country where 200,000 people have died over the last 7 years. If you put that in terms of American population, that's 45 million people. If you want to do something in this country, send humanitarian aid. If you want to do something in Africa, send humanitarian aid. But this country is spread too thin. No greater authority than Donald Rumsfeld has said he doesn't know if we should send troops there. If Donald Rumsfeld doesn't want to fight, I would take that as a hint.
So, Sam, what do you think is motivating this now?
I think President Bush's trip to Africa is motivating this. I think it's a big PR move. I think we have no relationship with Liberia like we used to. The fact that there's a city called Monrovia and there's a city called Buchanan, which I assume was named after the 15th president, it doesn't mean that we should commit American troops. Every day American troops are being killed in Iraq. I don't want to see this go on. If you want to send a peacekeeping mission, that's fine. There are about 115 other countries that can volunteer their services.
But many experts have said,
let me just finish this. At a time when this country is going economically bankrupt, I don't see why we're sending troops.
Well, but I'll play devil's advocate here. Many experts have said that these types of economies breed terrorists. Martha, do you agree?
Well, they do, and we can't muddy the waters with all these other things that are going on. We have to take this issue as it is brought to us, and it was the UN that asked us to be involved. It was the three factions that are involved there to ask us to be involved. And yes, Charles Taylor, it doesn't surprise me that he says now that he may not leave, because he's done this how many different times before. A peacekeeping force would be good, but clearly I do agree with Sam that what we have to do is have an exit plan. It can't be like a Mogadishu. We have to make sure that we understand what's going on and what we're going to do going in there. But we have to look at this without considering all the other issues that Sam was talking about. Iraq is a different issue, and if we want to debate that, we can debate that, but that's
I'm not
a different
talking
issue.
about Iraq. I'm not talking about Iraq in conjunction with this. I'm just saying that because we've committed troops and time and energy and money there, we're a little more thinly spread than we were before we went in.
But as far as
this is a much bigger powder keg politically. This guy Taylor's not going to leave because we ask him to. He's not going to go. And the specter of a 13-year-old child killing an American soldier is going to be a PR nightmare for this president, and it's one from which he can't escape.
We have to think about this in terms of what's right and wrong, not just the PR on it. And I think that what we have to do as far as Africa goes is what this president is doing. He is promising aid. He is doing more for Africa than any president up until this point in time. And what is he asking for in return? He's asking for there to be an accountability if we're going to get involved. And that's really what he's talking about in Liberia.
Has the U.S. administration turned its back on engagement in Africa to focus on the wrong priorities?
No, I think that what they're doing is beginning the engagement in Africa that has been having its back turned on it for many administrations before this. There has not been the involvement in Africa that there should be. Africa has been sort of the stepchild of the world, and I think what this administration has said, beginning with their AIDS initiative and then also the things they're talking about doing in these meetings that the president is going to, is the beginning of the kind of relationship we should have had in Africa for a very long time.
I think we have to stop talking about Africa like it's an amorphous, unified thing. There's a country called Eritrea in Africa where we could be sending humanitarian aid because kids are living on a biscuit a day. Africa, as a polymorphous group of nations, is so different. It's almost like the United States in how different they are. And I think if we send humanitarian aid, then we win over the people. Even
okay, you know, I'm sorry, both of you. I'm going to have to cut this off. I am going to have to cut this off, and I thank you both for joining us.
Kelly.
Martha
Thank
Zoller,
you.
Sam Greenfield, have a good night.
Thanks. You too. Thank you.
And now we move on to our exclusive interview with President Bush. On the eve of the president's first trip to Africa, he sat down with CNN's Tuni Makabo to discuss the challenges ahead.
Mr. President, thank you very much for speaking with us and welcome to Inside Africa.
Thanks for having me.
If we could begin with the issue of Liberia, President Charles Taylor in particular, you've said he needs to step down, he needs to leave the country. The U.S., along with other West African countries, are busy negotiating the whole issue. What are the discussions and options that are being put on the table?
Well, I'm glad you brought up the departure of Charles Taylor. In our judgment, he needs to go in order to create the conditions necessary for a peaceful solution to this difficult situation occurs. And you know, look, we're talking to ECOWAS countries right now to determine whether or not what the nature of a peacekeeping force might look like. I'm the kind of person who likes to know all the facts before I make a decision. We've got a special, ties to Liberia. There's historical ties in the United States. That's why we are involved in this issue. And I'm going to look at all the options, determine how best to bring peace and stability. But one thing has to happen, that's Mr. Taylor needs to leave. And I've been outspoken on that. Mr. Colin Powell has been outspoken on that. And I think most of the people involved with this issue understand that that's important, that he do leave.
You say that he needs to leave. Does that mean that if those negotiations fail and President Charles Taylor refuses to go, that you will send troops to remove him from office and not only to protect
first of all, I refuse to accept the negative. I understand that's your job to try to put that forth. I believe he'll listen. And until he doesn't listen, then we can come back and talk about the issue. In other words, I hope he does listen, and I'm convinced he will listen.
And should he not?
No, I'm convinced. You misunderstand. I'm convinced he will listen and make the decision, the right decision, if he cares about his country.
Let's talk about then your trip to Africa. It has only recently become more apparent, this particular administration's interest in African affairs and involvement in what's going on in the country,
Can I stop you there for a second?
Please do.
That's not true. As a matter of fact, from the very beginning of my administration, I've been very much involved with African affairs. I've met over 22 African leaders. And just want to correct the record before
absolutely
disabuse you of that misinformation, because Africa's been a very important part of my administration's foreign policy.
However, many people will say that has only become more apparent to them, perhaps not necessarily to the administration, but more apparent outwardly that this administration is becoming involved in African affairs. My question to you then is, if that is the case, and looking at the history which you've pointed out, why now? Why this visit now?
Why am I going now? I thought it was important to go before my first term was over, to show the importance of Africa to my administration's foreign policy. And besides going on a trip, trips are fine, but what's more important is policy. And I've proposed a Millennium Challenge account, which will, in my judgment, affect the lives of African citizens in an incredibly positive way, which says that in return for aid, and we're increasing the amount of aid available, governments actually have to make decisions which will be positive on behalf of their people, such as educating their people or providing health care for their people, not to steal the money. In other words, don't focus on elites, but focus on the people themselves, create the conditions necessary for market growth. I promoted AGOA. Now, I didn't invent AGOA. That happened in my predecessor's time, but I promoted the extension of AGOA, which is the trade agreements between the African continent and the United States, which has been incredibly beneficial for a lot of countries and a lot of people on the African continent. I proposed an AIDS initiative because I believe it's very important for the United States to not only show its muscle to the world, but also its heart. And the AIDS initiative, in our judgment, when implemented, will help affect the lives of thousands of people who are suffering from an incredibly, a pandemic that is absolutely destroying life, and it's sad for us. And so, no, my administration is not only get on trips and meetings, but more important, fundamental policy, and I think that's important.
One policy that your administration hasn't necessarily agreed on with many African countries is the question of Iraq and the war in Iraq. Can you give us a sense of how close the administration feels you are to finding those weapons of mass destruction and banned weapons?
Oh, sure, yeah. There's no doubt in my mind he had a weapons program. He used them. Remember, he was the guy that gassed his own people? Those are weapons of mass destruction. he used on his own people. No doubt. We found a biological lab, a very same lab that had been banned by the United Nations. It'll be a matter of time. Let me talk about Iraq, and I appreciate you bringing it up. If I think something needs to be done to enhance the security of the American people, I'll do it. See, that's my most important job, is to protect the security of America. Secondly, I believe in freedom for people. And I suffer when I hear the stories of what took place inside of Iraq. The mass graves that have been discovered, the torture chambers, the jails for children. And the Iraqi people are going to benefit mightily from the actions of the United States and a lot of other nations, because they'll be free. Now, we've been there for about 90 days. And, you know, the world is such that, you know, we expect democracy to have occurred yesterday. It's going to take a while for a free, democratic Iraq to evolve, but it's going to happen. And history will show you will show you, or the skeptics, that we're absolutely correct in our assessment of Mr. Saddam Hussein.
All right, Mr. President, I'm afraid that's where I'm going to have to leave it.
Thank you very much for coming.
Well, the president leaves Monday for a 5-nation trip to Africa, although Liberia is not one of his stops. The trip will be his first to the continent. And still ahead, it's a music revolution, and it could soon be coming to a computer near you. And as we go to break, Passages, a look back at some great entertainers who left us this week.
So cold, do something! Conscious, huh? Do something! What can I do? Around him! No water around him! Gradually, his nose got shaped more and more like it reminded me of this little car.
Yeah. I'll see you through. Yeah, I got to keep you pleased in every way I can. Wanna give you all of me as much as you can say. Make love to you, that's all I wanna do. I know you need it.
I love a good thing. Who says too much of a good thing is a bad thing? Sometimes too much of a good thing can be a great thing.
Now you can call anyone in America for 3 cents a minute and 39 cents to connect. And that 3 cents gets you Canada and Western Europe too. Just dial 1010-987.
There's no monthly fees, so you only pay for the calls you make.
Hey, you know a good thing when you see it.
1010-987. A rate this low never went so far.
Audi A8L, the world's most intelligently designed car.
Monday on CNN Early Prime. At 5, the dangers of a U.S. mission to Liberia. At 6, why are so many going broke in America? At 7, live coverage of Bush's trip to Africa. CNN Early Prime Monday. Next week, Soledad O'Brien.
Starting Monday,
Bill Hammer.
Only on CNN.
Together on American Morning, where real news makes the difference. American Morning, CNN next week.
And now for your listening pleasure, iTunes. Music lovers with iMac computers have known this for a while, but the iTunes online music store is one of the easiest and most affordable ways to stay current with popular music. CNN technology correspondent Daniel Seberg explains how it works.
First, it was Rip, Mix, Burn. Now it's Acquire, Manage, Listen. We're talking about Apple's digital music initiative, which involves the iPod music player and the iTunes Music Store. Apple released its iTunes Music Store back in April, and they are hoping that this is an answer to some of the piracy that is going on online. They've also tried to make it easy to use. They say they've had about 5 million downloads during that time from their hundreds of thousands of songs that they have on file. So by making it easy to use, how does it work? Well, we can show you right now. We've got a computer set up here with the iTunes Music Store running, and they've tried to make it easy to navigate as well. You can see over on the right here, you have the top downloads of the day, the top songs that were downloaded. You can also search by album, by artist, by song title. You can click on a song if that's the one you're interested in. It'll bring up information about the song, and there's the price, 99 cents. Before you purchase a song or an album, you need to register your personal information, which includes your credit card number so that you can buy the songs. And then when you've decided that's the track you want to buy, you simply click on Buy Song, and a dialog box comes up saying, are you sure you want to buy this? Your credit card will be charged for this purchase, and it will begin to download immediately. In an attempt to compete with some of the other legitimate music sites out there, Apple is offering things like previews on video of the song that you might be interested in, something that some of the other legitimate sites don't offer. In this case, we're seeing Electrical Storm from U2. Currently, iTunes is only available for people who own a Mac computer. If you have Windows or a PC, you're not able to use the iTunes Music Store at this point, but that may change in the future if Apple decides to release a version for PC users as well. Apple hopes all of this ease of use will lead more people to use their service. Of course, they also have to lure all the artists to use the site as well. Some artists that are not participating in the iTunes Music Store include Metallica and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And they're going to have to compete with all of the internet piracy that's already on the internet. Daniel Seberg, CNN.
Well, with me now to explain more about the success of iTunes and what it means to future of music downloading, Narasu Reber-Pragada. She is senior editor of Mac Addict magazine and joins us from San Francisco. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me, what is the magic formula here? Why has iTunes been successful where other online music sites have failed?
Well, I think Apple's been able to do two things with the iTunes Music Store. One, it's been able to please the music industry by providing sufficient security such that you won't be able to mass distribute this music illegally. But on the other hand, they've also created a buying environment that's really similar to the way we all buy music now. You pay either your 99 cents for a song or about $10 for an album, and then you own it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's only available, though, on Mac computers right now. Tell me what's going on in terms of broadening the distribution here.
Well, Apple says by the end of the year, iTunes Music Store should be available for Windows users.
Okay, which would exponentially increase the number of proposed customers. So this is a great deal moving forward. But there are certain bands, as we heard, Red Hot Chili Peppers for one, that do not want to participate. Why is that?
Well, it could be for a number of reasons. Simply, they just want to see how it goes. Another thing is Apple is very insistent that the per song price for download is 99 cents. Mm-hmm. They or their label may not wish to participate at that price.
Mm-hmm. The music industry, record industry, has said that it will go after individuals who share music online. How will that impact the company?
I think that remains to be seen when there's that first instance of the record industry going after that one individual, but I think it can only help Apple for people to realize that this is a fairly inexpensive and legal way to buy music and still credit the artist who's creating that music.
Mm-hmm. We've heard some really wonderful numbers from iTunes. Give me a realistic sense of how popular this site has been.
I mean, this site's pretty popular. They've launched it since the end of May, and they're on their 5 millionth download. So, in such a short period of time, I think that's a pretty fantastic number.
Well, the one thing that seems to underscore this whole thing is access, easy to use. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's very easy to use. And if you were to compare it to some of the other popular online music services out there, Apple's is intuitive because you only pay for what you buy, whereas some of these other services, there's about $10 subscription fee where you get access to all the music. However, if you actually want to download it to your computer in a way that you own it forever, you have to pay an additional fee, and I think that's where they lose a lot of people.
All right. Well, thank you for shedding some light for us, Narasu Reber-Pragada. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, up next, a laundry disaster of epic proportions. Forget remembering to separate the whites and the darks. Next time, pay attention to the detergent. We'll explain what happened here next.
Thousands of them. Some cleverly disguised as bookstores, Wi-Fi internet access, or your laptop, or PDA. T-Mobile Hotspot. Get more.
CNN Monday. Exclusive. The windshield murder victim's son speaks out. Brandon Biggs tells his heartbreaking story only on Larry King Live, CNN Monday, 9 Eastern.
To design a car online, just go to vhix.com.
I like a convertible.
What about a coupe? You can select features.
You like blue? I like blue.
Add options.
Check out the CD changer.
Change options.
You don't need a CD changer.
Then search inventories to find it in stock.
Do you mind?
All that's left? Deciding who will drive it. vhix.com. Roadmap to the automotive world.
Hi folks, Joe Fisher here to talk about Sports Seasons, your best source in the area for team apparel, athletic footwear, and accessories.
Nobody has a bigger selection of authentic and replica jerseys for NBA, hockey, NFL, and baseball than Sports Seasons. You'll find all the top brands like Reebok, Nike, Majestic, and Russell. And we have sizes from youth to 5X.
Support your team in style this year by shopping at Sports Seasons.
Sports Seasons. Any season, any reason.
Weekends on Disney Channel, Kim Possible is one teenager.
Kim, we've got trouble.
Oh no! What?
Thought I saw a zit. False alarm.
On a mission.
We've got to save Europe.
Yeah!
Be careful. Jigs, you want me a soda?
Ooh! To save the world.
Chasing bad guys with witching brains. High school sure has changed since my day.
Kim Possible. Every weekend.
So not the drama.
On Disney Channel.
Have you heard the buzz about West Nile virus? Protect yourself and your family from the mosquito bites that spread the virus. Use mosquito repellents when you go outside. When possible, wear long-sleeved shirts and pants. Remove standing water where mosquitoes breed. Most people who get West Nile virus don't feel sick, but it may cause serious illness. Fight the bite. Tell mosquitoes to buzz off.
CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Other stories tonight in our international roundup. Mexico holds congressional elections tomorrow with all 500 seats up for grabs. These women are with the fledgling Possible Party, which is known for fielding minority candidates, even though their chances of winning are very slim. This is the first national election since Vicente Fox won the presidency in 2000. In health news, SARS has been contained worldwide, that at least according to the World Health Organization. No new cases have been reported in Taiwan in 20 days, prompting its removal from the list of SARS-infected areas. But the WHO warns we're not out of the woods yet. About 200 SARS patients still remain hospitalized around the world. And in Paris, cyclist Lance Armstrong finished 7th in today's prologue time trial for the annual Tour de France bike race. He was more than 6 seconds off the lead. Armstrong is back to try for his 5th Tour de France title. Good luck. And one of the world's oldest dinosaurs has just turned up in South Africa. CNN's Johannesburg bureau chief, Charlene Hunter-Gault, got one of the first dates with the 250-million-year-old creature.
Well, there's more to this 215-million-year-old sauropod than meets the eye.
They were truly huge animals. I mean, a later sauropod, the largest known, would be close to 40 meters long, maybe even 50 meters long, and weighing up to 100 tons.
And what's a sauropod, besides being the largest terrestrial animal ever?
This was a very early ancestor of the Brontosaurus or thunder lizard.
Hence the name
Antitonitrus. Antitonitrus means before the thunder.
Named by this 31-year-old paleontologist who discovered not the dinosaur, but his bones at the University of the Witwatersrand.
The original bones, which we have some of them here, were laid out on a shelf down in the collections room. So I saw all of them at once, you know, looking at the shelf, and I mean, obviously the first impression is, my God, it's a big one.
Actually first discovered by this now 81-year-old legendary fossil finder James Kitching. He was so busy unearthing the older reptiles, he and his field researcher Reagan Lucas Huma simply set aside the nameless juvenile, today explaining,
I was never interested in dinosaurs. Because I call the dinosaurs chickens.
28 years later, enter Adam Yates, an Australian doctoral student researching at WITS.
It's not every day that you get a chance to name a new dinosaur, and I'm extremely grateful to Professor Kitching for finding it. I would love to find my own, of course.
And the chances of that are very good, given the vast fossil-filled sediment in South Africa's Karoo.
A scientist here told me that the story of evolution is like a film with most of the frames missing. The discovery of this massive frame is likely to advance that story, fueling our imagination and keeping all us Homo sapiens enthralled for all time. Charlene Hunter-Gault, CNN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
Are you ready? Tonight's news of the bizarre begins right here in Georgia with the Redneck Games. Yeah, come on. What began as a cheeky sideshow to the 1996 Summer Olympics has become something of a Southern tradition. Beer bellies are in. The better to take home the gold in the mud pit belly flop. And somewhere off the New Jersey coast, old subway cars have new life as artificial reefs. Fish apparently don't care about graffiti. They'll happily crowd into the sunken sanctuaries, unlike many of the people who used to ride them every day. And in Brazil, it looked like a scene from a bad horror flick. Pollution generated thick foam on a river near Sao Paulo. Adding insult to injury, it gives off a harmful acid gas. Lovely. And finally, the annual wife-carrying competition in Finland. The Estonian team clinched the title for the 6th straight year. The course is 250 meters long, and the winner gets his wife's weight in beer. Now, if I could just get my husband to carry me home. That wraps up this edition of CNN Saturday Night. Thanks so much for joining us. We will see you back here tomorrow night, again at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Coming up next, CNN Presents. But first, we have your last call. Tonight, we asked you if you thought U.S. troops should go to Liberia, and here is what you had to say.
Yes, U.S. troops should go to Liberia.
No, we should not go into Liberia. Stop being the policemen all around the world.
We need to get them out of Iraq before we start helping anybody else. Let's just go ahead and get our troops back out of Iraq.
We've already got troops in Afghanistan and troops in Iraq. It's enough. That's their problem, not ours.
Yes, the U.S. troops should go to Liberia. I'm for that 100%. I'm definitely sure, and I agree with the U.S. sending troops to Liberia.
Yes, the troops should go to Liberia to stop the war. People are dying.
No, we do not need to send troops to Liberia. Did not work for Iraq. We don't need to send them there.
People are suffering over in Liberia, and the situation is terrible. We need somebody to go there and make peace. Liberia really needs the help. You all do not know. You do not get all of the information. It is deeper than you are getting.
No, I don't think the U.S. troops should go into Liberia. What are we supposed to do, protect the whole world?
All spring you work to get your lawn thick and green, and then along comes summer and the brown patches. Hi, I'm Ashton Ritchie with the Scotts Company. Don't just blame the summer heat. It's also insects, bugs you can't even see, eating your lawn alive. The solution? Scotts Turf Builder with Summer Guard. It eliminates lawn-damaging insects. Plus, it greens up your lawn with a special summer fertilizer made for even the hottest months. Scotts Turf Builder with Summer Guard. Put it down this weekend for your best summer lawn ever. Guaranteed.
Some gasolines will leave dirt on my intake valves. And that's why I like a gas that helps keep my engine clean and running well, like Chevron with Techron. Because otherwise the outside doesn't matter much, does it?
Chevron with Techron.
My sister convinced me to try it, and now I use it all the time.
People are calling all across America for an incredibly low rate of 3 cents a minute and 39 cents to connect with 1010-987.
All I do is dial 1010-987, then 1, and my grandmother's number.
It's 3 cents to Canada and Western Europe, too.
I don't have to switch phone companies to use it.
Try 1010-987 today.
At 3 cents a minute, it's a no-brainer.
CNN Sunday. First Iraq. Next, Liberia. Senate Intelligence Committee Chair Roberts and Vice Chair Rockefeller weigh in. Plus, exclusive, Governor Gray Davis. He'll take on his critics on Late Edition. CNN Sunday, noon Eastern.
From the CNN Center in Atlanta, I'm Kelly Arena. Here are the headlines at this hour. Sources say embattled Liberian President Charles Taylor plans to meet tomorrow with the President of Nigeria. They'll reportedly discuss the possibility of temporary asylum for Taylor in Nigeria. The news comes as the U.S. contemplates sending troops to the region. In Moscow, Russian officials say 2 women blew themselves up outside a rock concert today, killing themselves and 14 others. Dozens more were hurt. Officials say they've linked Chechen rebels to the attack. An explosion at a gas station in Turkey has left nearly 200 people injured. It happened as a truck was refilling the gas tanks at the station. Some of the people hurt were at a wedding on the floor in the same building. Turkish officials are looking into the laws that allowed the wedding hall to be built there. And in St. Paul, Minnesota, an intense search of the Mississippi River has turned up no sign of a young child, whom several witnesses say was tossed into the water by a young woman. They say they saw the woman toss 2 children off a bridge before jumping in herself. She and 1 child were rescued.